Welcome to Signature TV News. I am Barry Kumo Ado. In the headlines, organized labor mobilizes members ahead of planned nationwide strike. NAFDAC urges immediate stop to use of deadly food preservative. On the foreign scene, Germany calls for strengthening of Ukraine's air defense system against Russia. Details shortly. The National Association of Nigerian Students has expressed its support for the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress in their demand for an increase in the national minimum wage. In a statement on Sunday, the NANS President Pedro Obi urged the government to respond promptly and favorably to the legitimate demands of the Nigerian workers. Obi will highlighted the impact of the present economic challenges on the purchasing power of workers, observed that inflation, the rising cost of living, and the continuous devaluation of the naira have made it increasingly difficult for many families to meet their basic needs. Obi stated that the youth and student population of Nigeria are directly affected by the plight of their parents and guardians who are predominantly workers and civil servants. An improved minimum wage, he maintained, will translate to better living conditions for millions of Nigerian families, thereby fostering a more conducive environment for students to focus on their education and personal development. He called on the government to engage the labor unions in constructive and meaningful negotiations to reach a mutually beneficial agreement on the minimum wage. The organized labor, comprising the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress, and at the weekend announced that it will be commencing an indefinite nationwide strike on Monday. The action is coming as a direct response to the unfruitful negotiations with the government over the proposed minimum wage and the recent controversial increase in electricity tariffs. Signature TV was in Abuja when organized labor announced the decision to embark on the strike.
With inflation now well over 30% as of today, many Nigerians are unanimous in agreeing that the 30,000 naira minimum wage being received by workers is no longer tenable. Despite ongoing negotiations between the federal government and the organized labor, both teams have been unable to meet a compromise. While government has proposed about 60,000 naira against the figure being suggested by Labour, this has been outrightly rejected by the Labour negotiating team.
As of today, there is no minimum wage for Nigerian workers, technically, by the expiration of the Act, by 18th of April. So as at now, we're operating without any law, backing up the minimum wage. They were talking about 100% increase. That's what they have offered. But the 100% increase amounts to one loaf of bread per day for 30 days. That's what it amounts. They are not looking at the quality or the value of what they are offering to us.
Another issue Labour is raising is the hike in electricity tariff. While recently, the union had protested, demanding a reversal, it is also calling on government to do the needful.
On the 13th of May, we had a protest to NEROC and to some of the discos, registering our displeasure. That up till today, there is no word from the government. Our demand was that there should be a reversal from 225 naira per kilowatt down to where it was before, 66 naira per kilowatt.
The president of the Trade Union Congress, Festus Osifo, during a joint news conference with the leadership of the Nigeria Labour Congress in Abuja, says Labour has concluded plans to commence an indefinite strike.
We are hereby declaring the commencement of a nationwide industrial action, a nationwide strike, effective from Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And this strike shall be indefinite. And this strike shall be on until we have a new national minimum wage.
Until we sign an agreement on what is mutually agreeable by the parties, our action will be on. But our action is not such that we will not equally negotiate. Because the two parties are now going to negotiate under duress. We're under pressure. They will be under pressure.
With many Nigerians still battling with the increasing cost of living, many are optimistic that government will yield to labor's demand and review the nation's minimum wage to a living wage.
The Nigeria Labour Congress has directed its state branches to mobilize their members for participation in a nationwide strike action, scheduled to begin on Monday, the 3rd of June. A circular by its General Secretary Emmanuel Ugbaja to all its state councils reminded them of a failure of a Nigerian state to agree on a new minimum national wage and subsequently pass it into law before the end of May. The circular also observed the failure of the government to reverse the hike in electricity tariff without consulting the stakeholders as required by law from 225 naira back to 66 naira per kilowatt, and the categorization of Nigerian electricity consumers into bands. It therefore requested all state councils to mobilize all their affiliates and members across the state to stay away from work commencing midnight this Sunday to ensure comprehensive closure of all workplaces. Meanwhile, critical sectors of the workforce, including the Nigeria Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers, National Union of Electricity Employees, Maritime Workers Union of Nigeria, National Union of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions Employees, and other critical sector unions have already written to their members to ensure total compliance. The Nigeria Employers Consultative Association (NECA) has urged organized labor to shelve its planned indefinite strike as it could reverse the recent marginal gains on the economy. NECA's Director General, Mr. Adewale Smart Oyerinde, who made the call in a statement at the weekend, said the strike could incapacitate the private sector. Oyerinde said that the call for strike was ill-timed and ill-advised and would not only impoverish Nigerians but also escalate the already worrisome unemployment situation. The Director General, however, said that the organized private sector will do all that was necessary within extant legislation to protect its interest and survival should a strike commence. He observed, however, that in the current macroeconomic circumstances, the odds were greatly stacked against organized businesses, with consequential effects on job security. SERAP demands transparency from governors over local government election. Details in a moment. Welcome back. The Director General, National Orientation Agency (NOA), Lanre Issa Onilu, says the new national anthem is a symbol of Nigerians' allegiance and loyalty to the country. Issa Onilu, who stated this in Uyo while speaking to newsmen on some key programs currently being implemented by the agency, applauded President Bola Tinubu for signing the new national anthem law, saying that the anthem contained better lyrics and more meaning. He said that the new anthem not only brought back a sense of patriotism and nationalism, but evoked the consciousness of Nigerians. Issa Onilu noted that the national anthem is part of the values of a country, which should make the citizens to appreciate one another. He said the agency will soon begin the process of fashioning out a proper and acceptable way of rendering the anthem. The DG urged Nigerians to remain steadfast in supporting the policies and programs of a current administration to ensure better service delivery. Residents of the metropolitan, Gwale, Dala, and municipal local government areas in Kano State have called on the State Police Command to deploy more operatives across the city and its environs to bolster security. A cross-section of residents who expressed their dismay and fear over the growing presence of thugs amidst the ongoing emirship tussle in the state appealed to Governor Abba Yusuf to establish a plausible, comprehensive security network to address the situation once and for all. Alhaji Abubakar Mohammed, a resident of Gwale local government area, who shared his personal experience of his wife being robbed by thugs while speaking with the News Agency of Nigeria on Sunday, appealed to the Commissioner of Police to deploy more security personnel to bring the perpetrators to justice. The residents are calling for increased security measures, including foot patrols and the deployment of plainclothes operatives to apprehend the thugs with a view to restoring peace to the community. They emphasized that the activities of these criminal-minded youths posed a significant threat to the peace Kano had been enjoying before the onset of the emirship tussle. Reacting to the developments, the Commissioner of Police, Usaini Gumel, assured the residents that the command was on top of the situation and had mapped out security measures to apprehend those involved. The Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project wants Nigeria's 36 state governors to disclose comprehensive details regarding the state independent electoral commissions operating within their jurisdiction as a way to enhancing transparency and accountability in the electoral process. In an official statement on Sunday, SERAP urged the governors to promptly reveal crucial information concerning the chairpersons and members of electoral bodies, including their qualifications, political affiliations, if any, and the mechanism surrounding the appointment. It emphasized the necessity for the governors to furnish the public with detailed reports regarding the outcomes of local government elections conducted since 1999, along with the voters' registers associated with said elections. SERAP underscored concerns raised by the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, who recently lamented that local government elections across various states are devolved into mere rituals favoring candidates affiliated with the ruling parties. The demands are contained in a Freedom of Information request dated June 1, 2024, and signed by SERAP's Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, which stressed the constitutional obligation of state governors to establish and uphold the independence of electoral commissions, ensuring fair and impartial conduct of local government elections. It expressed the alleged interference of state governors in operations of CX and apparent manipulation of local government elections, which is incompatible with Nigerians' right to effectively participate in their government. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, on Sunday warned Nigerians against the hazardous practice of using dangerous chemicals to preserve food items. The agency specifically emphasized on the dangers associated with Divolvox, a chemical commonly utilized by traders to safeguard food from spoilage. The Director General of the agency, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, who issued the stern warning in a press statement, explained that the sale of small volume of Divolvox sold as sniper has been banned since 2019, while the sale of a large volume of 1 liter is limited to certified agrochemical outlets. Responding to a viral video showing individuals using dangerous chemicals to preserve food items like beans, stockfish, and crayfish, Adeyeye urged traders and merchants to desist from using unauthorized chemicals on food meant for human consumption. She noted that food remaining unspoiled for an extended period might indicate pesticide contamination rather than freshness unless stored in the refrigerator. The federal government says it has secured foreign direct investment to the tune of 20 billion naira towards facilitating local production of assistive devices for persons with disabilities. The Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, Dr. James Lalu, disclosed this in an interview with newsmen in Abuja on Sunday. Lalu said the need to source for investors in the manufacturing of locally made assistive devices for persons with disabilities became necessary due to the high cost of imported devices. He added that promoting local content in the manufacturing of assisted devices will go a long way to increase patronage and boost the nation's economy. He said the local manufacturing of assisted devices will encourage the state governments, local governments, and other government agencies to procure and distribute them to the disability communities. Germany highlights urgency in Ukraine's air defense system to fight Russia. This and more after the break. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, have introduced a special program to enhance the welfare of refugees and displaced persons in the West Africa region. The ECOWAS Commissioner for Human Development and Social Affairs, Professor Fatou Sarr, who inaugurated the program during the Ambassadors' Retreat in Port Harcourt, stressed the importance of synergy in the protection and provision of welfare services for refugees and displaced persons in the region. Sarr highlighted the significant contributions of partners towards the success of various initiatives aimed at protecting and ensuring the well-being of displaced persons. Mr. Xavier Crochet, the Deputy Director, UNHCR Regional Bureau for Africa, expressed gratitude for ECOWAS assistance and cooperation in addressing the need of refugees, stateless persons, and displaced populations. Germany's Chief of Defense, General Carsten Boer, on Sunday called for greater flow of artillery ammunition to strengthen Ukraine's air defense in the fight against Russia. More than 2 years after Russia invaded Ukraine, the country faces renewed assaults on its territory, particularly in the region around the northeastern city of Kharkiv. Boer told Reuters during an interview on the sidelines of the ISS Shangri-La dialogue that Ukraine needs not only air defense, but artillery ammunition and weapon systems to fight against Russia. He pointed out that Russia is reconstituting on their own forces in a time frame and predicted that the most dangerous course would be in 2029. He said there is needs to take a look into the future and do a little bit of crystal balling of seeing when to be ready to defend Ukrainian and the entire NATO and NATO territory. Singaporean Prime Minister Lawrence Wong on Sunday met Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky after he addressed the last day of the Shangri-La Dialogue Forum. On his trip to Singapore, Zelensky asked for support and participation at a summit in Switzerland later this month, aimed at bringing peace to his war-ravaged nation. On Telegram, Zelensky said he had invited Wong to personally participate in the peace summit. Zelensky also met separately with Singapore's President Tharman Shanmugaratnam, whom he thanked for his country's clear position on Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Australia has asked for military talks with China, its Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles said on Sunday. Marles said Australia's recent encounters with China's military fell short of being safe and professional, saying they discussed the issue with Chinese Defense Minister Dong Jun on the sidelines of a Shangri-La dialogue on Saturday. He said there was a very positive sense from both sides about wanting to grow the dialogue and get it ultimately back to where it was before it was stopped. Chinese defense officials met their Australian counterpart in Canberra last year in the first formal meeting since 2029. since 2019. Since then, Australia has complained of a close encounter with a Chinese jet over the Yellow Sea and sonar being deployed while Australian divers were in waters close to Japan, which is said was dangerous. Surveillance video obtained by Reuters shows the moment a building collapsed onto a street in southern Istanbul as people waited to board a bus nearby. The video shows dust engulfing the street after a disintegrating building narrowly missed the bus as the front facade fell to the ground. Local media reported the collapse happened in the city of Koçhisar district and that one person was killed while 8 others were rescued from the rubble. Reuters was able to confirm the location from the nearby buildings, restaurant logo and road layout which matched satellite and file imagery of the area. It also confirmed the date the video was filmed by a timestamp on the footage and corroborating aftermath videos from the scene. Well, that's Signature TV News for this hour. I am Barikumo Ado. Thank you for joining us.